Now I'm audible, right? Okay. Sorry. Just a second. Yeah, today's agenda is like what is machine data, what are the types of machine data, and we'll discuss like what is Splunk and the scenarios and the use cases where the Splunk is used, and we'll discuss on what are the jobs that Splunk provides, and who needs Splunk UI walkthrough or like some installation. This is the today's agenda. So what is machine data is the data that is generated by machine. So what can be the what can be the machine data actually? The machine data can be in two things. One thing is something like logs, okay, or it can be something else, like it depends upon the component. If it is a server, if server, right, it will have something like CPU utilization, memory, and the host name, okay. And if it is a router, it will have some other parameters like what based on the type of device. If it is an IoT device, right, it will have some other parameters, okay, like temperature and device name, something like that. So logs will get it from applications, right? We'll get logs from applications or operating systems, okay. And routers, right, we won't have like it won't dump the logs, but from router, right, you will get some information like what is the bandwidth of the router, what is the total capacity, how much is utilized, and what is the CPU, something like that, okay. And it depends upon the device to device. For router it will be different, for IoT device it will be different, and there will be some devices like radio frequency devices, okay. So the pattern which we get from here will also be different, okay. So what Splunk is, now we'll discuss like what Splunk is. So Splunk is a software which is used to collect, it is used for the Splunk is a software which is used to collect, or we can something, collect, ship, collect, store, analyze the data. So the data can be the, or it can be like machine data, okay. Splunk is a software which is used for collecting, storing, and analyzing the data. So what is the machine data from this, what we understood, right? The machine data is something like machine generated data. It can be logs, or it can be some routers, IoT devices, or radio frequency devices, or it can be DB servers, okay, something like that. So the Splunk beauty is, right, it can collect the data from any device. It can collect the data from uh, multiple devices, like it can collect the data from servers. It's like one-stop solution which can collect the data, okay. So it can data from collect from servers, Active Directory, okay. And it can get the data from operating system like Windows or Linux, okay. And it can get the data from virtual machines as well, like VMware, okay. And it can get the data from network, mainframe systems, So like this, it can collect the data from any source. So if I put it in a pictorial view, it if I put it in a pictorial view, it is something like this. So here all this data can be shipped to Splunk. Okay, the device, like something like this. Mhm. So we'll see like how the log looks and the Splunk looks. So this is a Splunk. So this is the log snippet, right? So basically what Splunk does, right? Splunk will get the information something like this. So these are the logs that are generated in some host systems or whatever. So basically, right, it will pull the logs when this is the snippet that it has pulled from some other system and it is put over here. Currently I'm doing for underscore internal, which is a Splunk internal index. This is one snippet. So actually logs look something like this, right? So it will have the IP address, it will have some like a username, timestamp followed by the method and all those. So in a complex architecture, something like this. In a traditional system, right, you used to have something like this. In one operating system 10 years back, you used to have application server, okay, and you used to have a DB server in the same thing. Okay, and here we are having some DB server. So you are having both app server and DB server. Let us assume like it generated some logs, right? App server one, app server dot log. Okay, once it is full, right, it will be having some size of around like 5 MB. Okay, 5 MB. Once the size limit reaches, right, then it will roll over and a new file will be generated. Okay, existing log will be moved to something like this app server 1.log, and after that you will have something like app server 2.log. Like that it will roll over. Okay, and if my hard disk is like around like 100 GB, within 1 hour or 2 hours or like within one day, right, my disk space will be full. Okay, so they will keep that log retention period. After 5 days or 6 days, right, they will remove the logs. Till now, any doubt? Any doubts till now? Okay, so in the current architecture, what is happening, right? Our solutions are like decoupled. So previously, right, everything used to sit in one server. Now we are having some cloud solutions. Okay, let us assume like I'm having some abconline.com. It is a retail application. Here it is having presence in some 20 locations across the globe. Okay. Okay. Now how my solution will be? It will be if the country has Amazon, no, I'll host the services in Amazon. If the country is having Azure, I'll be hosting in Azure. And if the country is having GCP, I will host my application there. Okay. Now there will be some credit card details and all those, right, for an online application. So I am not interested to store those information in my cloud. So what I will put, right, in each country, I will put one data center. Okay, physical data center where I will store the customer centric information in this data center, like credit card information or account numbers or addresses or something like that. Okay, only the data that is pertaining to, oh, like sellers as and the goods, right, whatever the items which they want to sell, no, that is present there. So here I am putting in my local data center in India, US, okay, and London, okay, and Germany. Now my solution how would be, like, whenever a user purchases some item, right, first it will go to cloud. Okay, first it will go to cloud, and from there it will come to my data center and the credentials get validated, and next it will go here and you will do the shopping. And here also you won't have one instances, no, based on the load the instances will increase. It is not something like you will have one instance, there you may have some 10 or 20 instances. Okay, in Amazon, even in Azure also I'm having some 10 or 20 instance, here also same. Okay, whenever the transaction happens, right, it is spanned across multiple nodes. Here it is, here I am having some 15 nodes in my data center also, I am having some 15 nodes or 20 nodes. So as a user, right, it is difficult for me to nail down the transaction. So if any issue happens somewhere, if the let us assume like if the purchase failed, okay, payment transaction failed, okay, let us assume like case where the payment transaction failed. You tell me like how easy it is to nail down the to identify the issue. Yes or no? Here in US, right, I may have my something like this. In US, right, I can have my instance pinned in Amazon, Azure, and GCP. Something like that. Got it? So in these cases, right, it will be difficult for us for a support guy. Let us assume like if someone is working on a support guy, if someone is a support guy, to figure out the failures in lesser time, because he wants to log in into, you don't know if he logs into AWS, right, you don't know where to log in, which server is failing. In physical data center also he also don't know like where to log in, no, there is a problem. So that's why if we have a solution something like this, if it shifts all the data to Splunk, if I there is something like Splunk indexer over here, okay, it will ship all the logs. Basically it will ship the logs from Amazon, from Azure, it will ship from GCP, it will ship the logs from India data center, US data center, London data center, as well as the Germany data center, right? And it will store with it. So I can directly log in into this indexer, or I can log in into this Splunk, and I can get the data from it, and I can analyze like where the error we got. So if I want something like this, no, or I can just If I give something like error, I will get the error messages, and I will know like what is the host name of that. Okay, this machine got failed, and where the transaction got, where I'm seeing failures means in these logs there are errors, and I will see like which application it corresponds to, whether here it is like Mongo or something like Python or something like that. So I can pinpoint to a issue where exactly it has occurred. This is one of the use case. Now let us assume like here I'm shipping all the logs, okay, all the logs to the Splunk. So what data it will contain? Basically it will contain the customer interest, right? Okay, customer interest is something like whether the user is interested in mobiles, or he is interested in like smart watches, or he is interested in clothing, something like that. So whenever you do an activity, right, an event will be triggered, a log will be generated, and that will be stored in Splunk. So now I have a user base. I have a like base of customer needs. From this, right, I can extract a beautiful information, something like that, like if how many customers are logging in. Let us assume like 10,000 customers are logged in. Okay, how out of them, how many are making purchases? Let us assume like 500 are making purchases. Okay, 1,000 people are logging in, and 500 are making purchases. Okay, and some 500 are just viewing items like clothes, smartwatches, something like that. So now a business analyst or the customer will know what are the items that they have searched the most, and he can know like where the trend is, like on which days, how the, like, let us assume like if I store the data of complete 6 months. Now I can extract the beautiful information. If I take the data from like something like May to January, then I will know like how the Thanksgiving sales happened in the last week, or in the last in the last year, something like that. Whenever there is a festival, how is the trend? So during Big Billion Day, right, Flipkart will post, right, how much revenue is generated, how many orders are placed. Because if they have everything recorded in here, right, then here if you see, right, 500 purchases happened, right, so it will have the amount, right? If I have amount linked to that item, right, then I can do some Splunk query and get what are the products amounts of that particular day. Like that we can build some queries and extract the information. So we can prepare the dashboards as well. If you see here, no, there will be something like dashboards. So if there are any failures, right, we can see like what is the failure. 500 are there, 505 and 404, and their occurrences in last 1 hour. So you no need to log in, and if you have these dashboards in place, no, you no need to log in into the machine and check. Directly it will be visible. Got it? So if you want to extract the information, so I got this 500, where to find that? Then I can open the Splunk and see. If I want 500, no, I will just see view events. Now I will know, right, this machine is having that issue, like from this machine I got those errors and the timestamps and all the logs I will be getting, and I can see which log, see access, sorry, source. In this access log I'm getting these errors. Directly I can troubleshoot. So if you want to have something like 505 also same, so they can build something like this. Error codes are there. So here, right, what are the leave about this setting, this we can modify. So here, right, how many success transactions are there, how many bad requests are there, like that in a particular 1 hour or like some 24 hours, right, we can prepare the dashboards. So this is what the expectation of the customer. When you have this kind of setup of complicated decoupled setup, then it is complicated to get the information like how many are passed or how many are failed. If there is an error also, it is hard to find. But ready-madely, if you have something available, no, it will be easy. So it can show some charts as well. So if you see here, right, there's add to cart, change quantity, purchase, remove, and view are there, no. So it will give you an idea like how many are like, how many have added the to cart, okay, how many are done a purchase operation, and total number of requests for that particular 1 hour. And if there are any servers that are up and running, like let us assume in this case, right, there will be, the expectation is something like you should have some 200 servers up and running. Okay, let us assume like two of the servers went down. Okay, it is hard to find which servers went down or what is the total number in this setup, right. It is hard to predict, like hard to know whether all the servers are up and running, no. If you have some base, something like there should be some 200 servers, means if there is something lesser, right, you will take a immediate corrective action. Correct or not? So we'll create the dashboards for that. Actually Splunk will be used by multiple people. It is like a, if you log into, it is more, it is being used by more than some 4,000 companies. Okay, it is being used by more than 3,000 to 4,000 companies. So all the production systems will have Splunk. That is first thing. Second thing, right, in big data and machine learning, right, they will have the, they need the raw data. The raw data can be from any machine, no. So what they will do, right, they will preserve the data, they will get the data and they will store the data in the Splunk. Either it can be from network devices, or it can be from IoT devices, or it can be from databases, or it can be from CSV files. So they can store the data from anywhere into Splunk, and they will write the queries and extract the information. Even for machine learning or in the big data also is same, right, where from a unstructured data you will derive some useful information. So, and you will be having something like apps also. So let us assume like here in the previous example where I showed, no, I am having some 200 applications. Let us assume I will be having 200 URLs. I don't know out of which how many are working. So I can put something like this. So it will give me a clear picture. If something is having high response time or something, no, it will display. I can prepare the dashboards and use it for monitoring. Got it? Any doubts still? No? You can ask questions. Okay. So now who will use Splunk? Let us assume like So Splunk is being used by the support team and the Linux or like Windows admin teams for monitoring their systems. Like there are in a company, in an enterprise, will be having some like thousands of servers. No, they can't log in into every machine and check the logs. No, they can't monitor the system. So the Splunk is being used by these people, support team and all those. Okay, and business analyst or customer. So let us assume like a customer is there, like Flipkart or something. So he wants to see the last 3 days or like last 3 days sales, and he wants to see the trend, like how many something like this. He wants to see the trend, like how many, what is the business for that particular 3 days and whether it is increasing or decreasing. Okay, so he can prepare some dashboards and can visualize, he can visualize. Just a second. So like that he can visualize by using some time charts or something. Like you can get the chart with this trend also, like on daily basis, like hourly basis. Got it? So something like that he can see, and how many orders have been placed, or how many purchases are been made, and how many are deleted the items from the cart. Okay, something like that. They will analyze the business information. Let us assume like on day one, right, they are having some thousand or $10,000 business. Day two, 1200, or like it is 10K. It is a startup. Let's just assume like $1,100 business. Like that, they will see the trended day wise, and they will see whether they have to upgrade the infrastructure or how they can promote the business. Like how many uh, what are the items that have been sold and interest of the customer, right? Those things can be analyzed by the business analyst. Okay, testing team. So testing team will use the Splunk for troubleshooting the issues while doing their testing. Okay, and security guy. Security guys will be there. So the hacker will attack only one system out of the enterprise, and he will penetrate into the network. So let us assume like if I have a dashboard saying like logins. Okay, I'll put something like logins over here. I'll write a query just to show. Index is equal to internal. Okay, it is something like login. Okay, so it is something like this. So here no, in last 24 hours, normally I will be having 24 logins. Let us assume like if I suddenly had a breach, whenever there is a breach, no. Okay, 1 second. Last 60 minutes. Like that, you will have this count, Now let us assume like you are having this count per 60 minutes. Normally 24 logins will happen. Suddenly, if you see a spike in it, like it is something like 400 or 500 or like in 50 or 60, then the security guys will see like from where the multiple logins are happening. If there are only 24 users, then you should have only 24 logins, but there I am seeing some 60 or 70 logins. So they will prepare a dashboard with this and they will monitor this number. If they see any count mismatch or if they see any suspicious thing, no, then directly they will go to the host name from where it is the request are originating, and they will shut down that machine. So within minutes, no, then you can identify the issue and shut down the server. Else, right, if he's having an infrastructure of around like 1,000 servers, no, he can't log in and check the logs from all those 1,000 servers, no. So the Splunk is being used by security teams, and there is a separate specialization and certification for Splunk for security. Actually, the Splunk, right, it is widely used by everyone, all the irrespective of role. Either it can be a manager, or it can be an architect, or it is a customer, or a developer, or a tester, right? It is being used by everyone. So it is something like an Excel. How you use an Excel in a company, right? If you are working, if you have Splunk in place, right, everyone will use it. So, and I will talk about the job opportunities that it will provide. Irrespective of it is being used by everyone, right? Now you will be having something like Splunk developer, Splunk admin, Splunk architect. So these are the three positions which will be available for Splunk especially. It is being used by other people also. The people who are working in this domains can also switch their roles. Like admin can switch to Splunk admin. Now Linux admin can switch to Splunk admin. Like the people who are from who are writing good at queries, right? They can switch to Splunk developer, something like that. Okay. If you go to Splunk, right, there will be two types of softwares. So Splunk will have some software. Actually, Splunk, right, it will have two types of softwares. If I say this one as my source machine, this is Splunk, no? This I will call it as a Splunk indexer. Let us assume like this is an indexer. Okay. So this is my application. I won't have one application, no? In an enterprise, I will be having some thousands of applications, not one. Like this, I will have so many. This is for one project. Let us assume like for one project, I'm having some 100 servers. A company will have, let us assume like it is having some 20 projects, or we can assume like 10 projects. It will have something like 10K servers, 10,000 servers, no? Yes or no? So the data will be shipped to Splunk basically. All the data that is coming from applications will be shipped to logs, shipped to Splunk. Okay, like that. Let us assume like there are 10K servers, right? One system can't hold the data, no? One server can't get store the data. Let us assume like each application is sending some 10 GB data, like 1 GB data. Here, each application is sending 1 GB data per hour. So here it is something like 10k GB I'm getting. Correct or not? So total it would be like 10k GB. So one system can't hold the data. So what we will have, right? We will have a cluster like the same machine, Splunk indexer. You will be having some other indexers. So these machines, the source systems, these applications will send data to any of the nodes based on the configuration we define. Got it? Like that, they will send the data. Okay. Actually, Splunk has multiple components. Components in the sense like uh, one is like heavy forward, one is for universal forward. So universal forwarder will be something like a 70 MB file. It is a 70 MB software. So it will be installed in your application. So if I want to send my data to some source, no, some indexer, no, 1 GB per hour, I should have some software that should be installed, right? Here I will call it as a universal forwarder. So a thin software or thin client which will install in universal forwarder. Okay, this is a thin software which will install in the applications. Okay, where in our OS, and this will take care of sending the data to the Splunk. Okay, next one is the so there will be something like a heavy forwarder. Okay, heavy forwarder is something like this. Now this is my source application and this is my indexer. Okay, now my customer requirement is I want only errors. I want only errors to be stored. I don't want the passed transactions. Let us assume like this is my requirement. Then here I am having in my application I have installed universal forwarder. So I can't parse the data here. Correct? I can't parse the data. So what we will have, right? You will have a universal forwarder, which is a separate software, which will be used for parsing. It will check every log. If it is having failed only, failed or error. If it is having failed or error only, it will send the logs to the Splunk. If it is having error, only it will send. Passed transactions, it will drop. Heavy forwarder. Okay, it will drop the parcel transactions here. Got it? Because the customer requirement is like I want only the failed transactions to be recorded. Okay, so if I do the same parsing on my source application, right, what will happen? No, this application performance will reduce because it has to do parse the file, right? This software will also, this universal forwards or universal forwarder will also utilize some resources. Okay, but it will deteriorate the performance of the production server. So They won't do any parsing in the source system. They will do it on a separate system that is called as a heavy forwarder. Got it? And here, right, you will be having something like a license manager. Now, if I want, okay, then there will be something like deployment server. So here I am having some 10,000 applications in my example. In my, if I want to do configuration, right, I have to log into each and every server and I have to do that configuration. Instead of that, right, there will be one thing called like a deployment server, which will sit here somewhere. What it will do, right, it will try to push the configuration whatever we give. Like I want abc.log file, or if I want to change any configuration, no, this deployment server will take care of configuring that in my source machines, in my application servers. Okay, this deployment server will take care of sending the configuration, like what data to send and where to send. You have to define in your source machines. That configuration can be sent via deployment server, because if admin won't be given access to these applications every time, no, they will create some 10 minutes access or 15 minutes access, and they will revoke the access every time. You won't have access to all the applications for production servers or something. Okay, so during that time, right, this deployment server, whenever we have a deployment server in place, right, will this will send configuration to these application servers. And let us assume like the data is being stored from 10K servers. If I do a search operation on the same server, right, it is costly. So what we will do, right, we will be having some other component called like search head. What it will do, no, search head will, when you give a query, right, it will go to the indexers. Okay, it will go to the indexers and it will extract the information. It is something like that. When this is a search head, so if I give something like underscore internal or underscore internal underscore login and give a query, right, this will go to the indexer component. It will execute the query and it will extract the data and it will present in the UI. You got it? So it will execute the query and it will get it from the indexer. Actually, we can send alerts. We can prepare the reports like daily basis. If you want to get some report, no, like how many logins have happened, the same thing we can send via report. Okay, every day you will get one report into the mail. And if there is any, now we are having 21, let us assume like I am having some 25. Let I put a threshold like 50 logins per day. If it exceeds 50 logins per day, then it will send a mail to admin directly. Like today we have some 50 logins per second. As soon as that count to breaches, no, and alerts will be sent. Okay, we can configure the alerts and reports as well. And if you want to know the license, there will be something like license utilization. If you want to monitor the particular apps, even if you want to monitor the Splunk also, so it will tell you like how many bytes I have used, and it will show you like what is the percentage quota that I have used. Like that, last 7 days, last 14 days, last 30 days, last 90 days data, I can extract the information. Got it? So I can we can get the like what are the top 20 indexes and what happened in the like last 7 days, what is the usage, how many source types we are having. Like that, we will be getting this dashboards. Okay, any doubts? You can unmute yourself and ask questions.
Hi Vikram.
Yeah.
Vikram, just I have one question like that. Are you starting any real-time batches? Actually,
Yeah,
training
from
batches.
20th I'm starting. From 20th I'm starting.
Okay. Can you know
So
what is that?
there no, I will give some like I will be teaching like how to set up these clusters, like how to configure like multiple indexers. Now we will be having standalone installation and you will be having this configuration, right, where you will be having universal forwarder installed, where you will have indexer installed, where you will have a search head installed. So how to do the setup, how to combine that, I will be taking there. And also I will be taking classes on the basic like Splunk queries.
Okay. What is the duration actually and timings?
It is 20 to 30 days. That depends upon the like how batch pace. If they're
Okay.
quicker, like mostly I'm expecting like 25 days.
Okay. Got it. By attending this training, we could able to clear that certifications are there, no? Just going
Yeah,
through
yeah.
the
So
browsing that we could able to go through. We can attempt the certifications.
so if you see the certifications, right, there will be like this one I want thought of covering. So there are like multiple certifications that Splunk offers. That is like one is the core user. Okay. This is a basic certification. After that, right, you will be having power user certification, and you will be having advanced power user certification. So this is for mostly like a person like a developer or a tester or a support guy. So for these people, right, they will expect these three types of certifications. Okay. And there will be something like advanced power user, and for admin there will be separate certification. Okay, if you are like, oh, that's what I told, like admin will be separate role. So for them, right, if someone wants to plan their career in admin, they have to clear this one. And there will be certified architect and certified developer, and security. Actually 99% of the security team will use the Splunk. So if you are planning to have some career in security, right, then you have to learn Splunk. For this one, prerequisite is these two, like power user as well as the basic admin. And there is something like newly they got something like a not new, actually service intelligence, and phantom certified, and core certified consultant. So these are all advanced basically. So if you clear if you attend this training, right, you will be getting, you can clear these two. And admin you will get, you have to prepare like 30 days, like 25 to 30 days, right? I can give you an this is a theory exam basically, it's not a practical. So I will be showing the practicals of all this. For my class it will be like 80% will be, 70 to 80% will be practical only, and 10-20% will be theory. So you will be having the setups, right? Mostly there won't be any theory.
Okay. How we can practice, Vikram, actually?
So you can install, actually there will be 60 days trial version. If you are having a laptop, you can install. For me, right, I'm planning to have sessions on cloud, Google Cloud.
Okay.
So you can
Okay.
create a Google Cloud account. You can prepare your setup there.
Okay, okay. So that we can also practice up there.
Yes, you can create. You can create. My classes will be on Google Cloud only. This setups, right? Admin setups. I will be
Okay,
having in cloud only.
okay. We can also do this practice once our class finishes next day or something like that. We can do practice there.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, okay. And timings on the yes, timing Vikram
8 p.m.
actually
8
8
p.m.
p.m. night. Okay, okay, okay. Thanks, Vikram.
Any other questions? Others can ask. Like, if you have any basic doubt, also you can ask.